Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Maxim Langstaff, a Grammy and Emmy nominated writer, producer, and author whose work has reached millions around the world. Throughout his remarkable career, he's collaborated with cultural icons, including the Beatles, legendary producer Sir George Martin and John Denver, helped lead one of the largest wildlife conservation fundraising campaigns in history and is now the author of his debut novel, Sasket. From storytelling and creativity to perseverance and following your curiosity, Maxim's journey offers valuable lessons for anyone trying to build a meaningful life and career. Maxim, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you
Thank you. I'm honored. We'll have a great time. I'm looking forward to your
on.
questions, and let's get into it.
All right. So yes, I want you to take us back literally to when you were much more younger, right? So what was your 20s like? Should I say what kind of person were you then? And what ambitions were driving you at that stage of your life?
Oh boy, we try not to think about those things. But anyway, just kidding. Um, when I was much younger, I was much more driven by ambition,
Mm,
and in a sense, to be perfectly honest about that, that means you're driven by ego.
mm,
And ego, you're ambitious. You got an ego. You're very competitive. I was very competitive. There were things I wanted, the places I wanted to be, and at that point in your life, you have a sense of what you think you deserve or what you want in life, and then there's what you have and where you really are,
mm,
and they're often quite far apart. And so as you get older, they become closer together and into something else. So at the time, when I was in my 20s, I had no expectation or that I would end up where I am. And I think a lot of
mm,
people think that in life when they're young, they think, okay, I'm here, I'm doing this, and I want to be there doing that, or I want to go on to that and do that. And they think it's very linear. You just take the next step and you keep going. Life doesn't work that way. It's not linear. And to the degree to which you allow yourself to discover and sort of be flexible and learn sort of transformation, then you're going to get stuck. And I think one of the things that probably had my greatest sort of recipe for success for myself in life has been my curiosity. I've always, since even my 20s, been a very curious person. I'm interested in learning new things and discovering new things for their own sake. And I think that to a large extent has really been the key to my success in life. I'm not where I thought I would be when I was in my 20s. I have not landed where
mm,
thought I wanted to be, but the journey, it's all about the journey. It's not about outcomes.
mm.
And that's what I didn't know when I was in my 20s. I was like, I want to do this, I want to get here. It's not that. We only get one shot at this precious thing called life. So enjoy the ride, go for it, um, with passion and curiosity.
Uh, okay, curiosity. That's the first one, actually. And like you said, it's not all about the outcome, right? It's about the journey, basically, because most of us actually want the outcome. We focus more on the outcome, like the future, basically, thereby forgetting now and forgetting to actually live life and be happy, right? So I think that is really important. And you studied anthropology, right, before building a career in media and storytelling. So, how did your interest evolve, right? And what helped you trust such an unconventional path?
Well, it's interesting. I did not, when I graduated from school, I did not have ambitions to be a great writer. I did not think I was
Mm,
Mark Twain or could be Herman Melville or whomever you want to describe. I didn't know what I wanted to do. People say they graduate from college nowadays and they think, oh, well, what'd you go to college for? What are you going to do in life? I had no idea because, and I think that's a big mistake people make with college is that they think that they should come out of it. It's not a vocational technical education. I had a liberal arts education. I learned how to think really. which has
Mm,
helped me along the way. So I pluralistic. Anthropology is really a look at human beings through the third eye. There's your opinion, there's my opinion, and then there's reality. And it tends
mm,
to take a step back and try to look at the world through reality. And what I've learned in life and became very clear to me is that human beings don't operate from facts. We don't operate from facts for all our science and everything, all that stuff that we hold up. We operate from belief. And when you think about it, when you operate from, we're the only creature that does this. And when you operate from belief, what you're doing is really, that means the world you live in is a world made up of stories, the stories we tell
mm,
ourselves, the stories that give us meaning, the stories that give us purpose. And that's why we live in the bucket that we live in today, because we live from belief, not facts. And there's a lot of darkness around that as well as wonderful opportunity. I think that for me, the jump to media and storytelling was just really to understand myself and humanity. Who are we?
mm,
What are the stories that are important to us? And I thought, well, I'd like to try to participate and become part of making those stories. What are the stories that, and what makes a good story is a good question because
mm,
my story is only a good story if it becomes yours. In other words, it's the same with. I was talking to John Denver once, and I said to him, John, how do you know you've written a great song? And he said,
mm,
when it becomes yours. He said, that's the definition of a great song. He said, until it becomes yours, it doesn't have a resonance. So for the artist, and you have to be able to speak. Your art has to. You can only speak from your own place, wherever you are. That's your particular sort of vision, your story, wherever you go. But it has to speak to the universal. It has to have a bigger resonance than just your personal experience, and that's the job of an artist. And when you think about that from an anthropological standpoint, that's what so many of the rituals and so many of our cultures around the world, they're speaking to these. Every culture has a sense of themselves as the center of the universe. Every culture, every indigenous culture for sure, that we think we do too here in the Western cultures. We think that the world rotates around us, or that everything goes. And that's from an anthropological standpoint, it's quite fascinating. It tells us a lot about ourselves. But storytelling is hugely important to humanity. We're the only creature that does it, the only creature that needs it, and we're the only creature that operates in the world of our own creation, our own stories. And I think it gets us in trouble a lot. And that's to a large extent what my book Sasket is about.
mm. Sasket. All right. Okay. So yes, talking about, career and creative work, right? You've worked with some of the most influential artists, right? And storytellers of our time, Denver included. So what have those experiences taught you about excellence and creativity?
Well, I think when I was younger, I thought that all these people, I still do. I always think everybody's older than I am still. That says something about me. Like I look at somebody like the guy on the news, I'm like, oh, he's an older man, I realize, shoot, I'm 15 years older than he is. It's a little weird. I can't figure that one out. But anyway, what I learned from these people is that I also have to grow up and have always believed that everybody was better than I was at whatever it was I'm doing. And there's a lesson in that. I think it can be safely said that there's always somebody better than you. And so that's okay. That leaves some room for improvement, I suppose. But I think that what I learned from all of these, what you'd call icons and incredible, successful and influential and important artists that I've worked with, is that they're just like us. They're not icons. They're not superstars. They're not anything in and of themselves. We created them. We make them icons. We're the ones who say, oh, they're a superstar. We made Taylor Swift a superstar, or we made Beyonce a superstar. We they don't think of themselves as superstars. They don't go around going, well, I'm a superstar. That's what I do for a living. No, I'm a musician. I make music. I sing songs. I write songs. And they're just like you and me. When you actually spend time with them and you start working with them, you can get away from all that sort of media bubble and pop culture nonsense. You realize they're just like you and me. They have the same pains and hurts and feelings and aspirations and dreams that you and I have. And they happen to be particularly good at something. They're a great singer or they're a good songwriter, whatever that is. But Paul McCartney doesn't wake up every day thinking, I'm a superstar or I'm a Beatle. He wakes up every morning thinking I'm a grandfather, I'm a husband,
Mm,
and I love music. And like, gee, I think I'm going to write another song. And it was very powerful for me to learn that because I think that it made me realize that I too can be them. Does that make sense in a kind of weird way that they're not
yes.
something above and beyond or special?
Mm,
Everybody's special. Everybody has a gift or multiple gifts they can do and give and create. And I think that when you realize that, it's very empowering because it makes you realize that, gee, gosh, I need to step into the arena. I need to
mm,
go for it. And again, that goes back to the thing, don't worry about the outcome. I remember my dad was great for me when I was a kid. I said, Dad, I want to make money. I want to make lots of money. And he laughed at me. He said,
mm,
"No, stop that. Stop that." He said, "Stop worrying about money." I said, well, how can I stop worrying about money? He said, well, worry about unimagined excellence. I said,
mm,
if you do that, if you do really well, if you work hard at something you're very passionate about, you'll get good at it. And if you get good at it, you'll get compensated for it and you'll make lots of money. But if you go for money just for money's sake, you're just a shallow, empty shell and you won't get any
mm.
meaning out of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So basically, it just shows us that these people are actually the same as us. We're all humans, right? They are somebody's father, someone's mother, someone's kids, right? We are all the same. It's just, it just shows us that we too can be like them, right? Or we too can, achieve excellence, right? They do not have anything special from what we have. Actually, we are all still human. They only just tapped into their potential, right? So we too can tap into our potentials, basically.
And
Okay.
it's easy to do. That's the
Mm,
magic. That's the trick. So what do you, oh my God, oh my God, how am I going to get there? It's hard to do. No, it's not. Just take the next right step. You're not going to get there all at once. You're not going to get to that out. Stop worrying about the outcome. Just take the next.
mm,
So if I'm writing a book, I'm working in a book, what's the next word? What's the next sentence? What's the next paragraph? What's the next thought? Just
mm,
focus on that. Work on that. Okay, now move on to the next one. All you have to do is take the next step. And the other thing that's really cool about life that I've learned, and not that I have any particular expertise, um, except I've been run over by a truck a few times, is that change is the other key thing, flexibility,
mm,
your ability to adapt, because life is moving and changing around us all the time. And so you think, oh my God, I can't change. I can't, oh, that's too much. Oh my God. No, you
mm,
can change. So let's have a little exercise, you and me. Okay, so we're standing there together, right? We're standing next to each other, okay? And
right.
we're facing the same direction, okay? And so if we face the same direction, we're staying there. If we go 5 miles, we'll be standing
Mm,
next to each other in the same direction. How about if I moved my foot 4 inches to the right? If I turn just 4 inches, just go a teeny bit to the right. In five
mm.
miles, I'm going to be in a completely different place, miles
Different
away from
place.
you. So
Right. Mm,
change doesn't mean you have to do this big massive thing. It's easy. You say it's not working for you. I really want to do something else. All right, then to make a slight change and take the next right step. That's all you
mm.
have to do in life, and you will get there.
Wow. Oh, okay. This just reminded me of the book Atomic Habits, right? By James
Right.
Clear. Right. It doesn't have to be a very big major step, right? Just do the next right thing. And also, it reminded me of a conversation I had with a doctor, right? So I asked him what was the biggest misconception about, health generally, and he said 10,000 steps. I was like, oh, I thought it was a normal. They said no, it's not because not everybody will take 10,000 steps. But it doesn't change the fact that if you take 8,000 steps, you're also going to achieve the same thing that person who took 10,000 steps achieved, right? What matters is that you just need to move, right? Keep moving. That is what matters. You still be healthy either ways. It doesn't have to be too big, right? Just do the next right thing, just as you have said. It's not complicated. Just do the next right thing, basically. So yes, thank you for that one, actually. And your novel, right? I don't want to mispronounce it again. Sasket, right?
Right. Sasket. You got it
Sasket.
right.
Okay. Okay. So, it explores mystery, nature, and humanity, right? So, what inspired you to, write fiction about such an accomplished career in, documentary storytelling?
Well, it sort of goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is that I've reached a point in my life where, you when when I was young, I didn't realize I could write well. I
Mm.
thought, I mean, I could write well, but I thought everybody else could too. So I didn't think it was anything special. And so that was fine. But I've been writing professionally for different reasons and purposes, whether it's television, film, music stuff, and whatever, my whole life. But mostly it's been connected to other people's work or something about other people, things like that, or the professional needs of the company or people I was working with. I never actually had I dabbled and did my own creative work, but I never sort of thought much about it. And and then I decided I didn't decide. I fell into writing this book. And I did exactly what I was saying to you before. Allowing this is important. I allowed myself to go with it. And the next thing I knew was I started writing. I thought, oh my God, how does anybody write 100 pages? That's crazy. The book now 600 plus pages. It just happened, and I allowed it to happen, and I went with it, and the journey then becomes the inspiration, and the process itself becomes the inspiration. You can't wait for inspiration. You can't say, well, I'm going to start this once that inspiration comes, then you're never going to start. The inspiration comes from the doing. That's why AI is so dangerous. But anyway, we can get into that. But the point being, I think that I it just it's it's funny, people say, well, it's a book of fiction. Of course it's a book of fiction, but not for me, the writer, because as a writer you can't write about what you don't know. You have, and so it's very deeply connected to me personally, my values, my beliefs, and what I wanted to share, and through the characters, obviously, and the different characters I created. And it's a joyful experience to connect to other people and to see other people reading it. And you sort of, once they start reading it and they love it, as we've seen remarkable reviews, then it's their book. It's not my book anymore. And so you feel like you're contributing to something that's more important than yourself. And nothing gives you more meaning in life than that. Nothing, no matter what you do. So the specifics of the book, a lot of it came from people I knew and experiences I had and places I'd been. And the whole Sasquatch thing was intriguing to me as an anthropologist because in my training as an anthropologist as well as an artist, because the question comes up is, what is it? What are we talking about here? I mean, is there a real biological creature running around in the woods, hiding from us? I can't blame it, but that's another story. But I think that it's plausible. It actually is plausible. At first, I thought this is ridiculous. This is a silly thing, but it's plausible. Scientifically, it's plausible. And then, so then you look at it from the other perspective. I mean, when I was doing my research on it, at first I thought this is a joke. And then as I started to do research, I thought, well, I'm going to prove it's a hoax. And I started to go through it and I thought, it's actually harder to prove that Sasquatch or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, is a hoax than it is to prove it's real. What I mean by that is, if you believe the Sasquatch phenomenon is a hoax, then you have to believe there's been somebody running around in the woods for 300 years in a monkey outfit, hoping somebody's to come discover them. And what's going to happen if someone discovers them? They're going to shoot them dead. It's not a good thing to do. And so nobody does. Of course, I'm not going to do that. It's ridiculous. So then the question is, well, so the question of is it real or not real is really a scientifically debatable and worthwhile sort of conversation to have. The scientific community, being what they are, coming mostly out of academia, their response is, well, if it was real, we'd know it. Well, that's patently unscientific. At the same time, even more interesting than all that, which is fun stuff to explore, is if it's not real, then either humanity is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or there's something going on here. What is it about this thing called Sasquatch or Bigfoot that is so important to us that we have it plastered all over our mugs, our t-shirts, our hats, our cups? We talk about it. We make movies about it. We have TV shows about it. We're obsessed with it. And we have been for years, thousands of years. So why? Why is that? So what is it that Sasquatch has that we want? What is the connection between that? And for me, I think what I sort of discovered in my process, there's some connection about who are we as human beings? Because we as human beings are a very lonely species because we don't fit in with anything else. We don't fit into the cycle of life. If all the human beings on this planet died tomorrow, nobody would notice, um, except our parents. I'm just kidding. But the truth being, if all the mosquitoes died tomorrow, the entire planet, the ecosystem on this planet would collapse. So who's more important? Who matters more? The mosquito, lands on your neck and he's like, looks over at his wife, says, "Honey, come on over, steak for dinner tonight." I mean, they think they're the top of the food chain. They look at us as a food source. So, you start to realize so what does it do? It imbued me with a real sense of humility and a sense of I need to connect to and be more respectful and appreciate what's around us because the water we drink, the food we eat, the shelter we get all comes from nature. And I think there's some deep part of us that respects and knows that. And we want to connect to it more. And I think Sasquatch represents a sort of a symbol of that urging, that need, so it tells us a lot about ourselves, which I think we need to spend more time thinking about. I can't hear you. You still there? Wait.
All right, sorry,
Okay,
I
there.
muted my mic.
Back. That's
All
right.
right.
You needed a break after that answer. I get it. Okay.
All right, so it just made me remember, right? Ever since I was like a kid, there's this show they call it's a documentary, right? Finding Bigfoot.
Oh
Till
yeah,
date.
everyone's seen that.
Finding Bigfoot. I don't know if they've seen Bigfoot, but like it just makes sense what you said, right? Why are we desperately looking for Bigfoot? Right? It just
I,
shows that
I have to tell you a quick joke. Is that I was watching Finding Bigfoot, and I was sitting there with my wife, and she said, "Oh, this is such a great show, Max." And I said, "Oh, really? You like it?" She goes, "I love it." I said, "How come you like it so much?" She said, "Because I can sit down in the living room on the couch for an hour and watch a TV show and know nothing's going to happen." It's like, oh wow, that's perfect television. Oh my God. A long day, you work hard, chance to relax. You just enjoy it. It's like whatever. Anyway, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Actually, she's right, right? Like at a point I was watching it and I know the outcome, right? I know they were not going to find Bigfoot, but let's just all see it together. I mean, so yes, it just like you said, humans are actually lonely creatures, but we just need to, learn more about ourselves, basically. That's what I think, actually. So yes, thank you, Maxim. And
Well, I will leave
the
you.
purpose.
Let me leave you with one little joke. I saw this in a newspaper recently. So there's a picture. Imagine this picture. Bigfoot is sitting on a couch in the living room with a woman, an old lady, and they're sitting on the couch. And the old lady has got her hand on Bigfoot's knee, and she says, "It's okay, honey. I believe in you."
Okay.
Anyway, anyway, it's pretty fun. If you get a chance, you should read the book. It's a fun book.
I think I need to see that actually. What was the name of the book?
Book is called Susket, and you can find me it whatever at Susket Sasquet thebook.com. And you can find all kinds of neat stuff. That cartoon is not on there, but we have a really cool book trail that goes over 1 million people have viewed it. It's been fun. It's great. I'm glad I made you
It's
laugh.
fun. I'm still giggling. I mean, it's funny
Fun
thinking
counts.
about it.
Fun counts. Yeah. We all have that
All
with our
right.
mothers and our grandparents, right? Somebody who believes in us. We all need that. Even Bigfoot.
Exactly. I'm definitely telling my next guest this joke, actually.
Okay,
I
good,
to check
good,
out
good.
Sasket, actually. So yes, thank you, Maxim. And finally, I just wanted to talk to someone out there because the sole purpose of my podcast is like giving advice to young adults, right, who are trying to just figure out life, right? So many people in their 20s, they feel, so much pressure to have it all figured out. So, what would you say to someone who is, still searching for their direction?
A couple things. One, I would say there's no figuring it out.
Mm,
You won't, even when you're 70 years old, if you think you figured it out, what you will do as you get older is more reconcile yourself to your world. I think the other thing that drives us, fear, is the most prevalent human uh, aspect of being alive and a human being. We're all frightened. I mean, it was a good thing because it's not a bad thing. Because when we climbed out of the trees in the old days, and we hit the ground for the first time, you better be afraid of pretty much everything that's around you. So, I, when you're young, though, you're afraid of things. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your fear. Lean into it. Lean into your fear. It's okay. And don't let that stop you because that tells you that maybe you haven't figured it out or you don't know what's going on. That's okay. There is no figuring it out. All you get in life is the journey. At the end, what's the end of the journey? What's the ultimate outcome? Well, we all end up in the same place, right? There's only one outcome. So, how are you going to live your life? How do you want to live your life? And if you don't like your life, like we were talking about before, or you try something, don't be afraid to try something, try it. And if you try it, it doesn't work out, then make a change. And we just talked about how easy it is to make a change. It can just be the smallest little thing. It'll turn into a big thing. If you allow time and you allow space. I just wish as a young person that I had listened more, that I had had more appreciation, respect for older people who had gone through the journey. I kept thinking, well, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not the way it is today. And oh my God, and I'm going to figure it all out, or I know better than they do. They're just old. Well, it's funny because if you look at most native cultures in the world, certainly Native Americans in this country, all through Africa, Asia, all over the world, historically, since humanity's been around, there's always been a reverence and respect for the elderly, for older people. And we don't have that anymore. We live in a pop culture bubble where anything new seems to be better than anything old. Well, that's
Mm.
ridiculous. And I think that's a trap. And I think that as you're trying to navigate for life, you have to let all that stuff go. And if you can get wisdom and learn something from someone else, you always can, do and try. And that takes a good quality of listening. And that's something I lacked as a young person. I was too busy in my own head to listen to others. And I wish I had, and I'm now playing catch up. But listening is huge.
All right. So yes, thank you for that actually. Like you said, we believe in the older generations because there's something they say about experience, right? Experience is knowledge, right? These people are experienced people. They have knowledge about life, basically. They've gotten to a point where we have not gotten to. So we actually need to learn from them because their knowledge stems from lived experiences.
That's
And
right.
I'm glad that is like the base of my podcast, actually. So, yes, thank you, Maxim. And it brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment, right? So, you could either answer with a word or a phrase
Okay.
starting now.
Okay.
Okay, right. So,
Here
are
we
you
go.
a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
Okay, all right. So, what is one book every young adult should read?
Um, every book every young adult should read. Oh, there's many. Let's go with I'll go with Moby Dick. Why not?
Hmm. Okay. All right. And finally, what is a place that inspired you the most?
The wilderness.
Hmm.
The wilderness, whether it's in the mountains or it's near on the water, wherever it is, I'm inspired by nature. I look around me and I look at nature and I allow myself to be. It makes me feel connected, and so to being in nature, and so absolutely, it's being in nature.
All right. So yes, thank you, Maxim, for joining us today and for sharing wonderful insights with us actually. And just before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you and also connect with you?
Well, if you want to connect with me or you know more about my book and what I'm working on now, you can go to, again, Sasket, Sasquet, thebook.com. There's lots of stuff, and you can fill out a little thing there and reach out to me, or else you can go to my website, which is maximlangstaff.com. And you can check out some of the projects I've worked on in my career. And if you want to reach out, there's people, addresses, phone numbers, emails, something's in there somewhere they can find. And I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Wow. Okay. So yes, thank you, Maxim. I'll put a link in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. Sorry, I just remembered the joke
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
said earlier.
So, I believe in you. I believe in you. Yeah.
Yes, I believe
And
in you.
remember
All right.
the next time you're really tired and you're really stressed out, we could offer this advice to all of your listeners, and you just have had enough of the day. Sit down and watch Discovering Bigfoot, because for an hour you can sit there and you can be rest assured nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So yes, thank you, Maxim. And to my listeners, I want to say thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, Maxim. Do
Thank
have
you.
a
Thank you for
wonderful
having me.
day.
I'm honored. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. All right.